Und zwar starten wir da direkt rein mit Google Chat. Hier kann jetzt nämlich Gemini verwendet werden, um Nachrichten zu verfeinern, die wir in Google Chat im Web verfassen. Das ist ähnlich, wie wir es auch schon von Gmail kannten. In Gmail war ja auch schon die Funktion bis jetzt gegeben, dass wir eine E-Mail verfassen können und dann verfeinern können oder sogar quasi from scratch eine komplett neue E-Mail mittels Prompts verfassen können. Ähnlich ist es jetzt hier im Chat. Gemini hilft uns da eben für ein bisschen mehr Klarheit, Prägnanz und Genauigkeit in der Wortwahl zu sorgen und hilft uns auch, die Grammatik und die Rechtschreibung zu verbessern. Ja, also das ist ein wichtiges und nützliches Feature, gerade bei so Chat-Nachrichten. Die werden ja nicht immer so gut formuliert wie jetzt eine E-Mail, sondern da muss es auch manchmal einfach schnell gehen. Wenn man jetzt zum Beispiel eine wichtige Nachricht als Geschäftsführer an das ganze Team verschicken will, dann ist es dann doch praktisch, wenn man auch im Chat die Funktion hat, das nochmal ein bisschen zu verfeinern. Ja, die gleiche oder sehr ähnliche Funktion gibt es auch in Google Slides, ähnlich wie in Google Chat, aber jetzt auch in Slides, nämlich, dass man die Texte in einem beliebigen Textfeld, das man einfügt in die Slides, auch mit Gemini verfeinern kann. Das können Umformulierungen sein, das kann Kürzen oder ein Formalisieren sein in einer anderen Art, in einem anderen Format, oder wenn man einfach nur Texte weiter ausführen und auffüllen möchte, dann geht das auch innerhalb von Google Slides mit Gemini. Der Unterschied, würde ich sagen, im Vergleich zu der Neuigkeit von Google Chat wäre, dass es hier auch voreingestellte Optionen gibt, die für Slides optimiert sind, so wie zum Beispiel, wenn man den Text in Bullet Points verfassen will, so wie wir jetzt auch gerade sehen hier in dieser Präsentation für den First Tuesday, dann kann man das schon als Vorauswahl eingeben und dann verfasst uns das als Bullet Point. Oder ich kann sagen, lass es mehr seriös wirken, dann kann er auch quasi die Wortwahl oder den Ton ändern. Aber man kann auch eigene Prompts eingeben, um die Texte ein bisschen individueller anpassen zu können. Ein cooles, praktisches Feature, wie ich finde. Auch für die Erstellung vom Newsletter habe ich mich schon ein bisschen damit herumgespielt. In Google Meet hat sich auch etwas getan, nämlich wird das jetzt erweitert um die Funktion Ask Gemini. Und damit gibt es ein paar nützliche Verbesserungen zu Google Meet. Das ist aber etwas, was noch im Rollout ist. Also es kann sein, dass es noch nicht jeder so sieht wie jetzt auf diesem Beispielbild. Aber Ask Gemini kann dann benutzt werden, um laufende Diskussionen zusammenzufassen oder eine Wiederholung von dem zu erhalten, was jemand gesagt hat, oder eben Ergebnisse von Meetings zu highlighten, indem die wichtigsten Themen, Entscheidungen in den Meetings oder eben so Action Points identifiziert werden. Und es gibt auch eine Funktion, die heißt Take Notes for Me, die ist damit inkludiert. Das kann man ein- oder ausschalten und wenn das eingeschalten ist, dann werden da wirklich Notizen für einen mitgeschrieben, sodass man verpasste Inhalte auch besser nachholen kann. Wie gesagt, ist jetzt noch nicht bei allen angekommen, aber es befindet sich gerade im Rollout. Also kann sein, dass es vielleicht ein paar von euch noch nicht sehen. Wir haben es manchmal mitbekommen, dass Kunden diese Updates schon vor uns hatten. Also auch das kommt vor, je nach Gerät und Software. Ja, und damit sind wir auch bei Google Witz. Das ist das, was ich angeteasert habe, wo sich am meisten getan hat, überraschenderweise gar nicht so viel Docs, Sheets und Slides, sondern mehr in Google Witz. Habe ich ja schon mal vorgestellt, das ist die Videoplattform, quasi die Video-Editierplattform, in der man Videos schneiden kann und Text dazu also Tonrecording dazu aufnehmen kann, ein Skript dazu schreiben kann zum Beispiel. Und da gibt es jetzt ein neues Editing-Feature, das ganz praktisch ist. Nämlich kommt es ja häufig vor, dass man sich selbst aufnimmt und dann später irgendwie störende Pausen feststellt oder viele Füllwörter wie das klassische benutzt und die will man dann manchmal rausschneiden und man erspart sich jetzt mit dieser Funktion dieses manuelle Herumdoktern an einem Clip, weil man jetzt eine Analyse von einem Skript quasi bekommt. Es wird der Ton ins Skript umgewandelt und man kann dann einfach im Skript die Wörter rauslöschen, wo man sagt, das will ich nicht drinnen haben und dann wird das Video dementsprechend auch angepasst. Also einfach eine neue Funktion, Video zu editieren, wie man sie auch schon von anderen Video-Editors kennt, falls hier jemand vom Marketing dabei ist, von der einen oder anderen Firma. Das geht jetzt auch in Google Witz, um lästige Bearbeitungsaufgaben zu vermeiden. Auch neu in Google Witz. Ab sofort können Botschaften via Skript und der Auswahl eines AI-Avatars erstellt werden. Also dafür kann man dann einfach auf witz.new navigieren, so wie bei allen anderen neuen Videoprojekten auch, und dann auf AI-Avatare klicken, um ein Skript in das AI-Avatar-Panel einzugeben, auf der rechten Seite eine Persona auszuwählen und dann kann Google Witz innerhalb von wenigen Minuten auch ein Video zur Vorschau erstellen. Das ist natürlich besonders praktisch für Videos, die ein bisschen ansprechender sein sollen, zum Beispiel für Schulungsvideos oder für ein unternehmensinternes Ankündigungsvideo oder ein Demo-Video zum Beispiel. Ebenfalls neu in Google-Witz ist eine ganz andere neue Art, KI-Videos zu erstellen. Wir hatten ja bis jetzt schon die Updates in den letzten paar Monaten, dass man via Prompts Videos erstellen kann. Früher war das nur sehr begrenzt möglich und ohne Ton. Und jetzt geht es auch, dass man mit Bildern als Vorlage Videos dazu erstellen lassen kann. Und das bis zu 8 Sekunden und mit Ton. Das ist auch sehr praktisch. Wir können den Ton immer extra manipulieren in Google-Witz. Und jetzt können wir Bild mit Ton erstellen lassen, also Video mit Ton basierend auf einem Bild. Das kann man zum Beispiel machen bei Produktfotografien oder bei Logos ist das besonders praktisch. Hier sehen wir es gerade auf dem Beispielbild mit der Kaffeepackung, was man damit alles machen kann, was man da für eine Animation erstellen kann. Und wie gesagt, eben jetzt auch mit Ton, was sehr praktisch ist. Jetzt zum letzten Update zu Google Witz und meiner Meinung nach damit auch zum größten. Nämlich können von nun an auch Google Slides-Präsentationen als Referenzmaterial einbezogen werden, wenn Prompts mit Hilfe von Help Me Create erstellt werden. Also das hatten wir schon ein paar Mal thematisiert. Es gibt ja bei Google Witz, wenn man ein neues Video erstellt, die Möglichkeit, aus bestimmten Vorlagen auszuwählen und dann eben noch ein Topic einzugeben. Aber man kann auch einfach über diese Help Me Create-Leiste in einem Prompt eingeben, was man als Video machen möchte, wie das circa ausschauen soll, und man bekommt dann einen Vorschlag vorgeschlagen. Und jetzt kann man wirklich sagen, das soll auf einer bestimmten Datei basieren, genauso wie wir es auch schon kennen von Docs, wenn man sagt, ich will ein Sheets in Docs einfügen und ich will einen Bericht erstellen in Docs basierend auf einer bestimmten Tabelle. So geht das jetzt auch mit einem Video basierend auf Slides. Und das Coole ist, es wird wirklich alles mit analysiert. Also es nimmt den Text her, analysiert den Text, es analysiert die visuellen Inhalte, die Bilder, die gezeigt werden in einem Slide, und dann werden basierend auf dem KI-generierte Skripte gemacht und sogar ein Voice-Over erstellt und die Hintergrundmusik passend ausgewählt. Das sind alles Sachen, die sonst viel, viel länger dauern, wenn man das alles händisch macht, und jetzt ist das alles so möglich in Google Witz. Sehr, sehr praktisch. Martin Schreiter gefällt. Ich sehe schon, das nächste Team-Meeting wird ein Google Witz präsentiert. Sehr schön. So, und jetzt auch wirklich zu den letzten News, dann übergebe ich auch schon an die Kollegen. Wir sind schon 3 Minuten im Verzug. Und zwar lassen sich jetzt Gems teilen. Gems haben wir auch schon oft thematisiert, aber trotzdem nochmal eine ganz kurze Zusammenfassung, falls es jemand verpasst hat. Gems sind anpassbare Versionen von Gemini, die sich wirklich maßgeschneidert quasi auf einen bestimmten Use Case oder Need anpassen lassen, indem man einem Gem eine Rolle zuweist. Man kann sagen, es ist zum Beispiel ein Marketing-Experte. Und die kann man dann eben befragen zu gewissen Themen, und der antwortet dann immer aus dieser bestimmten Rolle. Und von diesen Gems lassen sich eben unterschiedliche Gems erstellen mit unterschiedlichen Rollen. Und bis jetzt war es immer so, dass man die individuell erstellen kann und dann, wenn man sie für gut befindet und innerhalb von einem Team das teilen möchte, dann hat man einfach nur den Prompt irgendwie kopieren können und dann muss sich jemand halt einen eigenen Gem erstellen. Aber jetzt kann man die wirklich auch von der Admin-Ebene aus teilen, was sehr, sehr praktisch ist. Also Admins können jetzt über die Verwaltungskonsole reingehen, in die Admin-Konsole, und unter Generative AI, Gemini-App und dann bei den Setting Gems festlegen, ob ihre Organisation die Gems teilt oder nicht. Und diese Teilung erfolgt, by the way, ist nur ein Fun Fact, ein kleiner zum Schluss, auch über die gleiche bereits vertraute Schnittstelle, die auch bei Google Drive verwendet wird. Also das Ganze passiert dann auch sehr sicher und vertrauenswürdig. Also auf Google Drive, wenn Dateien geshared werden und mit Labels versehen werden, das ist quasi die gleiche Schnittstelle, die hier verwendet wird, um die Gems zu teilen. Ja, und das war es tatsächlich jetzt auch mit meiner News. Leider 4 Minuten im Verzug. Ich hoffe, meine Kollegen von Jumpcloud nehmen es mir nicht übel. Ich würde jetzt an dieser Stelle kurz an die Alex übergeben, um ein kurzes Intro zu Jumpcloud zu machen. Alex, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much, Michael. Could you please turn on the screen sharing so I can share my slides as well, please?
Absolutely. There you go.
It's not working as of yet.
Oh, I'm sorry, I haven't made you a co-host yet. My bad.
No problem at all. While we wait,
I told you I would do it, and then I didn't do it. I'm on it.
no problem. But while we wait, happy to quickly introduce myself and my colleague Ben. My internet's a bit flaky today, so I'll try and keep the camera on as much as possible, but if I need to turn off, please forgive me. In terms of who we are, we're part of the Jumpcloud team. I'm Alex, I'm an account executive here at Jumpcloud. I'm also joined by my colleague Ben. Ben, do you want to wave just so they know who you are here on the camera? Ben is a solution engineer here at Jumpcloud, and he'll be running you through a high-level overview of the platform today. Before we get into that, though, I do want to take a few minutes just to quickly explain who we are and what we do. And to do that, I also want to take you back in time a little bit to show where we've come from and ultimately why we exist to address some of the challenges today. So before I get started, can you quickly confirm you can see my screen? It should be blue and say the direction. Fantastic. So if we cast our mind back to the early 2000s, most IT environments at the time had Active Directory in place. And for the time, it was actually a really, really good solution because a lot of people were going to the same physical location, namely the office. So IT admins at the time had physical access to the IT environment, and the technology was pretty much very homogeneous in nature. If we fast forward now to the present day, we all know that a lot has changed in that time. For one, not everyone's working in the office anymore. People are working remotely, they're also working hybrid. The way people are working is changing. But the technology that people are using is also changing. So since the early 2000s, we now have more Apple products. We have new cloud infrastructure like Google and AWS, and we have different SaaS providers as well that have sort of entered the market. And so that meant that companies would start to have to buy many different toolings to cover all these increasing needs. So they might need to buy an SSO solution and a password manager to control access. They might need to buy different MDM solutions for different operating systems they had in their company, so different machines. They might also want to buy a remote assist tool to help troubleshoot and manage these, an MFA solution, a radius solution, etc. So it was becoming a lot more complex and diverse, the tooling at the time. And this ultimately led to several challenges that IT would have to address. For one, it was becoming more expensive, spiraling costs, more and more solutions they had to procure, which is eating into valuable budget. Security is another challenge that was top of mind insofar as every solution would have its own audit log. It becomes very difficult to have that centralized visibility of your entire IT environment. So it's not as easy to identify any security gaps as well. And finally, for the IT admin, it's also a challenge because they now have to become an expert in multiple different solutions. They need to find custom integrations to make them all work together. And it becomes a lot more difficult to fully automate the entire IT end-to-end process as a result. So this is the landscape and the backdrop to which Jumpcloud entered the market, so to speak, and the challenges that we were trying to address. And what we've done is we've created what we call an open directory platform that aims to unify IT into a single, easy-to-use console. And we're doing this by covering the 3 pillars of IT, namely identity, access, and device management. So for identity, we are a full identity manager and directory solution. We can integrate with anywhere that holds identity today. That can also be Google Workspace, with whom we have a really strong partnership, but it can also be with Enter ID, it can be with Active Directory, it can be with your HR solution. So we're forming a single source of truth for all of your identities to manage. Once we manage these identities, we can then start to provision access to all the resources your users will need based on their entitlements. So we have an SSO solution, we have a password manager to provide access, secure access to your approved applications. But we've also got a SaaS management solution to uncover any unapproved applications in your organizations, to dive into the realms of shadow IT. And that comes with the added benefit as well of license management, being able to keep track of your license spends as well. Alongside this, we also have an LDAP protocol and a radius solution. All of these touch points under access, you can layer in our MFA solution on top for an extra layer of security. We can also take the identity and we can bring it all the way down to the device level. So we can manage your Mac OS, Windows, Linux, iOS, and Android devices all in one place. You can enforce policies, you can do patch management, software management, you can run custom commands. We have a built-in remote assist tool as well for troubleshooting needs. And you can also lock and remote wipe a machine in case it is lost or stolen. And the nice thing about Jumpcloud is because we're controlling identity, access, and device management in one place, you can also layer in conditional access policies. So you're not just controlling what people access, but also how they're accessing key resources for that zero trust security framework. And because we are managing everything in one place as well, what that means is you have a nice centralized visibility for everything happening by a user and by an admin, which makes proving compliance a lot easier. So The summary of Jumpcloud really is that we are on a consolidation mission to combine many different IT operations into an easy-to-use platform, which we see as being a more cost-effective as well as efficient and secure approach to today's landscape of IT. So that's a quick introduction into Jumpcloud and who we are. I'm now going to hand over to Ben to sort of dive into a high-level demo, and then we've got a Q&A at the end as well if you've got any questions for us.
Cool. Thank you, Alex. I will steal your screen share. All right, so before I jump into the demo, it's obviously quite difficult to demo to so many people because we can't really be interactive yet. So I want you to think about your current environment, the landscape that you're working in right now. And as I go through the demo, think about how Jumpcloud could help elevate or improve the workflow that you have right now in your organization. I'm sure that many of you have many different tools that are doing a lot of things. I assume most of you are in Google Workspace already and utilizing a lot of what Google Workspace has to offer, as well as you probably also have some point solutions for managing your devices or a different IDP altogether. What I'm going to try and show is how we can bring that all together in one pane of glass, as we like to say, and then how we can make that a journey for onboarding and offboarding of devices a lot easier. So as you can see, this is the Jumpcloud console. I'm going to start off in our directory. So we're kind of going to go left to right from what Alex showed on her first slide. We're going to start off with the identity and access side of things. With our cloud directories integration, we have the ability to integrate into both Google Workspace and Entra ID, giving you a native integration that allows you to both import users from these two directory sources, as well as for us to export users out to those directory sources. When it comes to Google Workspace, at a very high level, for simple imports, I could go into Google Workspace, I can query my Google Workspace directory, I can see all the users that I have in my Google Workspace, and then I can simply check a user and import this user into Jumpcloud. Nothing too fancy there. We can do this for individual users or automatically import all of our users on an ongoing basis. The more interesting part is the export or the pushing out of users from Jumpcloud to Google. When a user gets created in Jumpcloud, we can add that user automatically to a group. We can tie those groups in Jumpcloud to your Google distribution groups. And this allows you to automatically add users into those groups to which they belong on the Google side. So this can help you manage those users in those groups from a security perspective, which permission levels they have in other Google services, as well as just manage those mail groups when it comes to those users in those groups. And then the individual users themselves, we can create the users in Google Workspace for you from Jumpcloud. So if you think of the typical workflow where HR creates a user, the HR tool, let's say Präsentiert, pushes the user down to Jumpcloud, we can create that user for you in Google Workspace. And when the user sets their password, we'll also push or update their password in Google Workspace, all from within Jumpcloud. So it's one less step, so you don't have to go into the likes of Google Workspace and create the user there and then map them to those different groups. We can manage all of that automatically with this integration here. So from here, we bounce over to our user directory. So from here, these are where all my users end up living. If I was to look into one of my users, Patrick Bellner, Patrick has access to pretty much everything Jumpcloud has to offer. We have some two-factor authenticators assigned to Patrick's account. Jumpcloud offers versatility there, where you can either use the likes of Google Authenticator, Microsoft Authenticator. We have our own MFA factor for one-time passwords, as well as push notifications, as well as we can support modern authenticators like WebAuthn and YubiKeys. Patrick also has some devices assigned to his account, some applications, so SaaS applications that he has access to through the groups that he is assigned to. These are all the different SaaS applications. And then we can also see things like when he last signed into his account or his device. If we look at devices, then we can see here, as Alex mentioned, we cover all the different device OS types. We can go Linux, Windows, and Mac OS. And not only can we manage the users on the devices, we can also manage the permissions on the endpoint. So when we push a user to a device, we're not only just creating the user, we're also setting their permission set. So are they a standard user or an administrative user? And we can, from our console on the fly, elevate or restrict that user's access at a simple click of a button. So, for example, Patrick wants to install something on his endpoint that we're not able to push through Jumpcloud, and he needs administrator rights. We can go into the console, give him admin rights for 1 hour, and when I apply this, he gets admin rights almost immediately. And then once that hour has lapsed, his admin rights are then revoked, and he's back to being a standard user. So helping keep your environment compliant and secure, but also giving you the flexibility to really give the users what they need when they need it. And lastly, if you think back to a typical day in the life of an admin, users come into the office and they forget their password, or they've typed it in correctly, but it's not accepting it, and they just can't get into their machine. One of the worst things is for an IT admin is to try and get the password reset, give it to the user, have them reset the password on the endpoint. And if you're utilizing things like Active Directory or other services, it can sometimes take quite a long time to sync. Because we can manage the users directly on their devices, we can also manage the passwords and update the passwords from the console. So if I reset Patrick's password here, I can set a new password for him, have it expire, so he resets a new one later. And this will not only reset the password on his endpoint immediately, it will also reset the password for him in Google Workspace and any other SaaS solutions he has access to. So he keeps that same password across all of his services or devices, always being that same password. And when it gets changed, it will update across everything, keeping that one password across everything. So if we were to look at your typical onboarding scenario, HR has been told that a new user is joining. So for example, today, Michael is going to join Jumpcloud. Right now, Michael's account is not in the console yet. There's probably many Michaels here, but not any sure. So just to confirm. Yeah. And so in my HR tool, I'm going to create an account for Michael and push him to Jumpcloud. What we'll see now is that when I create his account, it will populate in Jumpcloud. Now it's already created over here. Because of the groups I assigned to his account from the HR tool, he's already been automatically assigned to these groups. He's been given birthright access to these applications. And right now he hasn't been assigned to any devices. This process, perhaps in your organization, may take you just as quick, depending on what flows you have, or you may get a ticket from HR, go into Google Workspace, create the user there, and then go into each of these individual programs to create the user. Even if these applications are linked to Google Workspace, you're still having to go in and create all those users in the applications. Because Jumpcloud offers the likes of skim provisioning and just-in-time provisioning, we can create the user for you in those applications at the user creation time, meaning that when a user launches their admin portal, sorry, the user portal, they will have access to everything they need straight away. Now it's going to sign me in as me, which I have to then sign out as, which is always a bit challenging. Today my internet is very slow for some reason. Give that a second. So I'm going to sign in as Michael. I'm going to copy your. Today the Democrats are not with me. Don't sign me in as me again, please. I'm sorry. It is not signing me out. I'm stuck in a bit of a loop here. There you go. All right. So if I still have it, nope, that's not that. All right, let's type it out here. Michael dot. Emergency.com. So this will be the first time that Michael has signed into his Jumpcloud account. As part of that, we've also specified that Michael needs to set a second factor for his account. and it's telling me that this password is being kept in line with Google Workspace. Now I have the option of setting whatever second factor I want. I'm going to use a more modern one using WebAuthn. So I'm going to set up a second factor using my fingerprints, and it's going to prompt me in the back end here to provide my fingerprints. And once done, that's going to enroll Michael's account against my fingerprint in my browser. And it's going to force reset this here. Now, as you can see, minus little glitches I had there, this whole process took just a few minutes. And now Michael has access to all these applications. I can click on the Salesforce tile here. I didn't create his account prior to this, and this will automatically create his user on the fly for us in Salesforce, being able to sign him in. So this can really help save your IT teams a lot of time for user provisioning as well as deprovisioning. If I was to change Michael's department, so let's say Michael decides he wants to go into better things, become a salesperson. He's gone from the IT team, he's migrating to sales, and I tell the HR team, okay, it's going to be moved to the sales department. We update this user in our HR tool, and if we refresh this here now, you'll see that the application access that he has will also change because his department has now changed. So now he's got a few different applications. So that user lifecycle journey of moving from one department to another can also be sped up and really keep everything secure, because his application access to his previous role will also then be revoked. And if we look at his profile and his security, if you wanted to enroll other factors for his device, maybe he wants to keep a phone factor as well in case he doesn't have a machine with his fingerprint, can also do that from here, can change his password. And then when we move over to device management, he can also download the package that he needs to enroll his device into Jumpcloud. So this is the user enrollment where they can adopt or do self-enrollment of the device into Jumpcloud if the administrator doesn't have the ability to touch the device first. We want to ship the device out to the user from wherever they are, and then users can go in and self-enroll. So then looking back at our console here, we look at device management, especially when it comes to the likes of Google Workspace. Google Workspace has a lot of things really well. Device management, unfortunately, is not really one of their strong points. So this is where Jumpcloud can really help you from a device management perspective, especially because we can handle macOS, Windows, and Linux devices with equal parity across all devices. And if we look at our device fleet, we have the ability to also grab those device packages from here. It's really slow today. Waiting for this to load. My internet's also apparently not great. So from the device enrollment window, as an admin, I can download the enrollment profile. As well for Windows and Linux, you can get the profiles from here. Specifically for Mac, we do also cover zero-touch enrollment. So if you are familiar with the likes of Jamf, Kanji, there's other point solutions that do all the Apple management, we can do pretty much everything they do as well. So we can enroll your organization into Apple Business Manager. When a device is handed out to a user, they will have zero-touch enrollment where we'll enroll the device into Jumpcloud, push the user to the device, and do everything without any admin interaction. If we look at then our device panel, this loads a little bit quicker this time. Oh, apologies for this. So I'm going to filter this down to some active devices. Usually this is very snappy. I don't know why it's taking so long today. Need some waiting music in the background. Oh, what is going on? There we go. Hopefully I click into a device now, it's not going to do the same thing. All right, So we're going to look into one device. I'll keep it down to one because of little glitches we're seeing. Nope, not happening. I would change Wi-Fi networks, but that'll probably make it worse. There we go. All right, so when we look into a device, we can see at onset the status of the device. In this case, from a Mac device, I can tell that it has been encrypted with file vault. We will also store that file vault recovery key in the console. Once it loads, there will be a key here. While that loads, I'll wait to talk to the rest. We can also show the users that are bound to the endpoints. So if you recall, my user Patrick had 3 devices. He is a bound user. There we go. Our recovery key is also there. And we can also see the unmanaged users on the devices, so local users that are created on those devices. If we go to our device insights, we can see pretty much all information related to hardware and software of that device. So not only the users in the device, but the hardware, which architecture it has, how much storage or memory there is in the device, as well as every software package that has been provisioned on those devices. So every application, the version of the application, as well as the browser extensions. Specifically to browser extensions, we won't get a chance to look into this deeply, but Jumpcloud can help you manage those Google Chrome browser extensions, as well as if you're utilizing the likes of Chrome browser management, we can enroll your devices into Google Chrome browser management to help you elevate that security on those Chrome browsers. And then from the actions menu, I can also erase a device. So if we want to fully restore a device to factory settings, Jumpcloud can trigger that process. We can shut down, restart, and lock the device, as well as we have a remote assistance tool that is built into our agent that allows you to create a screen share on the device, helping you manage the mouse and keyboard. So users that are remote and need assistance don't need to install any extra software. It's automatically installed with our tool, and you can simply launch that assistant here directly from the console. Now I'm hesitant to click somewhere else, but I will just do so for the sake of the demo. Great, this worked with Greta. So our policy management is another thing that really makes Jumpcloud shine when it comes to other MDMs. Policies are the ability for you to harden or secure your endpoint, especially when it comes to the likes of compliance, where if you're trying to get ISO 27001, SOC 2, any of these compliance certifications, they're going to require that certain things on your endpoints are locked down. For example, the device needs to be encrypted. Users can't have administrative rights. Access to the control panel should be restricted. And so with our policies, we create all of the needed policies out of the box for you. So for example, if I want to enable BitLocker policy is here. I click on configure. I can assign this policy to my device groups. So we can group devices the same way we do for users. I can assign it to a group of devices, so all Windows devices, for example. And then when I save this, automatically all of the devices enrolled in Jumpcloud that are part of this group would have BitLocker enabled. We would again escrow that key for you. And so the same applies to all of these. So anyone who's familiar with Active Directory group policies, for example, those are similarly to these and have the same functionality, but in a much nicer UI. And then also Windows more modern CSP policies are also covered for the Windows side. On Mac, we can have more configuration profiles also pre-created for you. And in both operating systems, you can also customize those policies to whatever your needs are, creating custom configuration profiles. And so what this leaves you in is a state of better compliance, more hardened devices as far as security goes, and also gives you flexibility to rechange these on the fly depending on the devices that are being managed with the users behind those devices. On top of that, we can also manage the software on your endpoints. So for software management, devices need software. Even though we're in a very cloud-based world at this point, users still prefer to use certain applications. And so in order for us to manage those applications, we can push applications down to your endpoints. We have multiple different ways for both operating systems through which we can do that. We have our own app catalog. You can leverage the Windows Store, as well as you can upload your own files. And with these different methods of deploying software, it's as simple as checking the boxes, choosing those device groups and how you want the software to be deployed. And then automatically, when those devices are enrolled in Jumpcloud, we can push those packages down. So again, going to the user onboarding, it's as simple as creating the user, pushes the user across all those web applications, and then once the device is assigned or enrolled into Jumpcloud, they will automatically get those software packages, those policies automatically assigned to the devices. So a 1 or 2 day onboarding process can be limited down to just 5 minutes. And then on top of everything that we've already spoken about, we have then our directory insights. So every piece of the Jumpcloud console, or any action taken, is all logged in our console for 90 days. So every device that gets updated, every software package that's pushed, every user that is created, we will log that. So for your security teams that love logs, we will capture all the information, and if you want to export this out into your own security tools, you can also do that. So here I can see that created the user for Michael, timestamp, and everything that goes along with that. And then for our auditors, we of course also reports. So everyone loves a good report. So we can generate reports for which software packages are installed across which devices, which version of the software. So if you have a 0-day vulnerability and you want to quickly find out to which device that has been deployed, we can run a software report to gather that information, as well as which users are assigned to which devices are up to date as far as patching goes, etc. I didn't mention it, but we can also cover the patching of your endpoints, so OS patching with regards to keeping those devices up to date, allowing users to defer those updates until X amount of days, and then enforcing that those updates are done on those devices. That is pretty much everything that I wanted to show today. There's a lot more in Jumpcloud we could cover, but for the sake of time, I'm going to stop there. I hope that was helpful. I think we will open up to any questions anyone might have. I would welcome any questions. And feel free to use the chat as well if you like.
Yes. Well, maybe I can ask a little question right there, because since you already created my account and showed the onboarding process, I was just wondering what happens if I would have left the company. What happens to my user, to my identity?
Very good question. So I literally just suspended a user right now in the backend there. So once we suspend a user in Jumpcloud, your access is cut off across all those resources that you had access to. So really, it's a matter of security first. Once users suspended, their access to their device is suspended, and their access to the console, as well as any SaaS applications, is also immediately suspended, including the likes of Gmail, Google Workspace, etc.
Okay, I see. Very nice. One thing I remember from our admin panel in Workspace is that, especially since Gemini, we have a detailed overview of how many users are using Gemini and what extent. Is there a similar kind of overview panel that you have for your applications as well? Like an insight, which applications are used in the company?
Per application, yes, we can show then under SSO applications how many users are assigned to an application for sure. Just looking at our home panel here, we do have a lot of information here, but not specifically to applications. Typically, our customers have hundreds, maybe even thousands of applications assigned to their accounts, so that could get quite difficult for us to manage from a panel, but you can generate a report for such things as well.
Nice. Thank you. Anybody else? Irgendwelche Fragen noch an den Ben? Kai in the chat. Kai is asking, is it possible to access the log-on history of the connected systems, as in like who logged onto Salesforce using an admin account, or who used emergency PM accounts last week.
Yes, so for the Salesforce PCS, we'll track every login to every SaaS application. We would assign the roles to the likes of Salesforce by groups, so we could see that. On the PAM side of things, we have a separate tool, which is not linked to this console, that can help with your PAM use cases. I believe would also track what you mentioned there for PAM use cases. So yes to both.
Very nice.
Nice question, Kai. Thanks.
Anybody else? Otherwise, I would just ask you maybe to just summarize for us all in the end, after this demo, how you would say broadly one can basically replace Active Directory using Jumpcloud.
Yeah. So if you have the likes of Active Directory, so the Active Directory is really a legacy system in the sense that it's really on-prem and requires that you be on network to access Active Directory. What Active Directory does is it brings a directory service to allow you to manage users, manage mail, etc. But as a lot of you already know, you have the likes of or similar capabilities to Active Directory in Google Workspace. Because Jumpcloud can already centralize that directory service with what we have from users and groups, as well as an access to other applications, we can move your reliance on Active Directory to cloud. If you want to even maintain the likes of Microsoft still, but not Active Directory, you can use our cloud directories to integrate your Entra ID into Jumpcloud. So you can manage the users from within Jumpcloud and push them to Entra for Office 365 or Exchange, and then remove the reliance on AD. We have this AD integration that allows you to move the users off of AD into Jumpcloud with an agent that you can install. And it can also help you keep both in place as you do that migration. So still create users in AD for you from Jumpcloud, manage their passwords in Jumpcloud. But as you slowly move more to the cloud to get off of AD, we can still sit there in the middle, helping do that central migration from one service to the other. Same as from AD to Google Workspace. If you want to move from AD to Google Workspace, it's really simple to connect AD to Jumpcloud and then push those users to Google Workspace from within Jumpcloud.
Very nice, thank you. I think that's it for my questions. Except for maybe how would one contact you? Right now, should they reach out to Christian in a meeting or to Alex?
That's a good question. Alex, I'll let you take that one.
Yeah, you can reach out to us directly. You can reach out to Cloud Pilots as well. You can put you in contact with us and set up a meeting. So all avenues are an option. Please feel free to get in touch if you're interested in learning more.
Perfect.